Hey friends, I hope you're well. Jumping in here to make a little announcement. My book is out. It was co-authored with John Perkins. Many of you probably know who he is, a pastor, civil rights leader. He has an amazing story. If you haven't, go out and grab his books. I had the supreme honor of co-writing this book with him. It's called Go and Do, and you can check it out now. You can get it on Amazon or wherever books are sold, but I will tell you that you can get it for 40% off if you go to my website and go to the tab that says discount code. So if you go to shaneblackshear.com/discount-code, it will take you to a place where you can put your email in, sign up, and you will automatically get an email with a coupon code for 40% off. And I would be honored if you would read it. Okay. Here's the show.
Hi, I'm Deb.
This is Frankie V.
I'm Grant.
Hi, this is Phil.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Steven.
Hi, I'm Joe.
Hi, I'm Matt.
We're Tim and Terry.
I'm Susan.
Hi, this is Phil.
Seminary Dropout is supported by listeners like you and me.
Seminary Dropout is supported by listeners like you and me.
You should support the show like I did.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Just visit supportseminarydropout.com.
Just go to supportseminarydropout.com.
And I'm your host, Shane Blackshear. Interviews with leading Christian authors, leaders, and thinkers. Let's go. You're listening to Seminary Dropout. Aaron Niequist, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
I was looking, and I think that this is your third time on the show.
Yeah.
So you welcome to the Third Timers Club. Yeah.
Oh,
we need a.
There's a jacket.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm gonna send your burgundy blazer will be in the mail soon.
Nice.
Well, Aaron, I think most people kind of know who you are and what you're about. But for those who don't, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe especially in terms of this conversation, I was a worship leader for many years in kind of evangelical type spaces. And that was meaningful. And at a certain point, I just was longing for more. Like, this is good, but I need to explore some other waters. And so in those days, I started to learn from how do other Christians do this? And so the kind of ecumenical thing burst down all these walls, and I learned, whether it's theological or practical or communal or whatever it was, and just kind of opened up into this bigger, deeper, wider space that I'm still trying to figure out where I fit in it. But about 3 years ago, moved to New York City and to get my master's here at General Theological Seminary. And it's an Episcopalian school, which I'm not Episcopalian, but I really respect the tradition and have learned a ton. Graduated last May and don't want to leave. So we've joked that they're going to have to drag us kicking and screaming from this campus and this neighborhood and this city. So, yeah.
That's so cool. And a couple of years ago, you published a book kind of detailing your journey.
Yeah, it's called The Eternal Current: How a Practice-Based Faith Can Save Us from Drowning. And I mean, in 30 seconds, it began with my complete implosion of faith right when I started in ministry. So I, grew up Christian family, went to Christian college, got a job at a Christian church, and lost my faith almost immediately. And so that's like the first chapter. And then it just talks about how so much of the faith that I had lost was that beliefs-based. As long as I agree with these 3 theological points, then I'm good. And that just stopped working. That's not, first, I don't think that was the invitation of Jesus. And second, it doesn't actually work in a complicated world. And so, and then, bumped into Dallas Willard's teachings on the kingdom. And then that's when I connected with Rob Bell before going to Grand Rapids to partner with him in that. And this whole new way opened up. And it was centered around not just believing things correctly, but learning how to put those things into practice.
Yeah, I think The Eternal Current was so helpful for me because I think, and people like me, because I think it gave us a way forward and it gave us language to articulate that I think we've missed something. I think that this isn't doing it for me anymore.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think that throwing it all away is the answer either.
I'm not done with Jesus.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
the way of Christ, I mean, I still believe is the hope of the world. I mean,
Yeah.
blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the meek. That's the path. So now the fact that our church structures aren't always organized around that, and occasionally are organized in direct opposition to that way of Christ, that's the really important rubber meets the road question. But man, the way, I've not given up on the way.
I mean, I feel like if I had to like give a summation of my spiritual formation and kind of the things that I've been awakened to in the last, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. If I had to put that in a word, I think I would put that in the word embodiment. And I feel like that's kind of what you're speaking to.
Yeah, say more. Say more.
So we come from, a lot of us, especially if we grew up in evangelical spaces, where there was such an emphasis on the right belief.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't put the right belief down. Like, I think that's really important. But it only got me so far. And it ultimately, it wasn't enough to sustain me.
Yeah.
And I also think that even the way that we think about right beliefs is a very Western Enlightenment type of way to think about it.
Yep.
Like the cliche, like I'm going to screw it up now, but like we don't, we like behave into the right ways of believing instead of the opposite. Like there's this, because we're embodied beings, like God made us.
That's exactly right.
God made us in this way that this mind-body connection is really important, you know?
Absolutely. Can I share a kind of silly example that I shared in the book, but I think
Oh, please. Yeah.
captures it? I started one of the chapters by just saying, all right, imagine that a person is out of shape and they want to get in shape to run a marathon. And so they go to the local fitness center and say, hey, I have 6 months. Would you help me prepare for this marathon? And they say, wonderful. Come back. We have this auditorium room and there's going to be like a U2 cover band, play some songs. And then there's going to be a marathon expert that gives a 45-minute lecture about running marathons. And so probably the first time you'd be like, hey, this was great. It got me all fired up. It taught me a couple good things that I really should know about marathons, until they say, all right, come back in 1 week. We'll do it again. Come back. And suddenly you realize I'm getting no closer to running a marathon. And I mean, the obvious parallel with our churches, I mean, there's so much good information. And like you said earlier, beliefs actually do matter. What we believe is not nothing, but it's really different than actually embodying and walking that path. So
Yeah, I've stolen that example, that metaphor, more than once at my church.
Oh yeah. Right.
So thanks for that.
What's wild is when I share that with people, especially people who are actively in church work, like making some of those decisions, no one disagrees. No one even gets mad. Like, how dare you? They say, I know.
Yeah.
But what's the other way?
That's right. That's right. We kind of intuitively know something's missing, but we're not really sure what to do about it.
That's right. And so what we get into this kind of false dualism of either we keep doing it like we've always done it, or we jump ship from the whole thing. And that's what you mentioned right at the beginning. Like, this path doesn't work, but I can't give it all up. And so we feel like with only those two choices, well, which of the bad choices am I going to choose? And I reject the whole invitation to only those two ways. There has got to be a third way, probably a dozen third ways, and we have to find it together.
the talk about deconstruction is like at a fever pitch right now.
Yeah, right.
And I kind of sense that usually the ways we talk about deconstruction is often way too simplistic. You know, if you ask the conservatives, it's, oh, well, these, selfish kids are just, they don't want to submit to Jesus. And if you ask the progressives, it's like, no, just evangelicalism is so much of a dumpster fire that they're giving it up to find the real Jesus. And I think we can find people for which both of those things are true.
Of course.
But I think that I feel like all of us, if we're being honest, have struggled with doubt in some way. And I can imagine what difference it would make if someone said, hey, look, I get it. Like, this is all the public church has been a dumpster fire for a long time. But all I know is that, like, I've experienced the risen Christ for myself. All I know is, man, I went to church one time and I saw somebody get healed,
Yeah. Yep.
And instead of just banking on this like set of facts that I memorized a long time, if I could bank on the experience that I've had with the risen Christ.
Yeah. Yes. You bring up deconstruction. For me, it's actually been a really helpful word because it's been a desperately needed process. But a couple of things that I always say is, first of all, we're not talking demolition. Demolition is easy. Come on, that takes no courage to get out a big hammer and knock things down. Anything can be knocked down. And so demolition, that's what happens on Twitter. That is, people are just burning it all down. Okay. Deconstruction, I once heard a friend say, is taking something apart in order to understand it better. Yeah. But the goal of taking it apart is to put it back together. Now, maybe not the same way. Right. Because even as I say, demolition is easy. There are parts of what we've inherited that have to be let go, have to be put down. That is, we cannot include all of what we've been given, but we better not lose it all either. There was a chapter in the book that was just about include and transcend, which is, of course, not my phrase. That's something I learned from Ken Wilber, and Richard Rohr talks about that, and other spiritual teachers. But the whole idea, include and transcend, what was beautiful? I'll just do it with my particulars, just for an example. So I spent all this time in the white evangelical megachurch. Is there anything as problematic right now than the movement that I spent a lot of time in? And their critiques are almost, in my experience, almost entirely correct. There is profound sickness and brokenness and cancer, and I've experienced some just unthinkable things. So, okay. So I'm currently not actively swimming in that tradition for that reason. However, I could talk to you for an hour about the parts of that tradition that I'm going to hold on to forever.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have to give up the good parts just because other parts got really toxic.
Yeah.
And I would say whoever is listening, what you grew up in was probably, some people grew up in pure trauma. So we're not talking about that. But in most cases, what you grew up in is partially really beautiful and partially really broken and ugly. How do you hold on to the good while letting go of the other parts? And then, they include and then transcend into a bigger whole.
So I think that this, it kind of segues nicely into your next chapter, what you guys are planning right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about it.
Well, yeah, it's almost like you're an expert at these podcast conversations. That was well done. No, I mean, like you, I'm having so many conversations with those who are either giving up on the church or about to give up on the church, or just desperately broken by the church. I mean, I've truly never seen a season like this. I've been in like full-time ministry for over 20 years. I've never seen a season where more of us are discouraged, disillusioned, exhausted, the whole thing. So what we're doing, and it's really cool. The president here at General Theological Seminary, we were talking about our shared like heavy heart about this, and he said, "Let's do something here." And so I had hosted maybe 3 or 4 of these over the years, a retreat called Pastors, Priests, and Guides. And so what we're doing this May 23rd, 24th, and 25th, here at General Seminary in New York, is we're hosting Pastors, Priests, and Guides again. And what it is, it's not a conference, it's a retreat. We can't just show up and say, all right, let's take the next hill, it's going to be great. Most of us are flattened right now, but we also don't simply need to get dusted off and healed and a little more energy to go back to what didn't work before and won't work again. So we've got to find a way to get healed and then reimagine a new way.
I mean, I think that the pandemic has been rough on all of us. Like,
oh yeah,
like all of us, you know?
Oh yeah, everyone, of course.
But I think, man, looking around, the pastors, the ministers, the helpers are not okay.
Not okay.
Not okay. It has taken a toll. And yes. I am, my role at my church is not that heavy.
Okay.
But April, who I'm on the pastoral team with, her role is a lot more heavy. And the other pastors for whom that is their full-time gig, it is very heavy. And
yeah,
figuring out, I mean, there's so many moving pieces here, right? But like, you're thinking, 2020, especially for churches like mine who weren't that large and didn't, our online presence wasn't that big. And suddenly, like, we had to make these massive pivots in very short periods of time. And so a lot of us did that. And then we thought things were going to go back to normal, and they kind of did for a minute. And we're trying to figure out how to keep people safe.
Yeah.
And we're also trying to speak truth, but also be peacemakers amongst congregations who might be very split on this stuff. And there's just a million different interests going on. And our churches have shrunk. Some people have not come back, and we don't know what to do about that. And it's a lot. It is a lot for our leaders.
I feel that too. And it you name both of the dynamics. There's probably 100.
Yeah.
But the two that I hear the most is the having to pivot into the utter unknown almost overnight because of COVID has been one just exhausting, confusing thing. But to overlay that with the bitterest of divisions about things that shouldn't be divisive, it feels like those two things together are just, it's just too much. It's too much. And so we are pulling together some leaders for this retreat that are, I feel like it's like a dream team, and I'm so grateful. The central one is Reverend Canon, Dr., she's got all these names, but Stephanie Spellers. And Stephanie works for the National Episcopal Church. She works for Bishop Curry, and she's in charge of, she's a canon theologian and responsible for evangelism, justice, and creation care.
Wow.
Which is just so, and she is one of the most dynamic, ballsy, human beings with this contagious laugh. She's just a force of nature. So she was the first person I asked, and thankfully she said yes. And then Drew Jackson is a poet and a pastor on the Lower East Side. that he's been involved in the work of justice and kind of the prophetic voice. And he's a gentle soul. I mean, he's a poet. And so he's a part of this. My priest, Reverend Christine Lee, she's been, I serve at her parish here in Chelsea about every other Sunday. And she is just absolutely wonderful. And then my wife, who I'm slightly biased to say that she's one of the most amazing people. She's coming, and she's going to bring the force of hospitality. And what I don't mean is she's going to set out the coffee. She might. We all are going to do that. But she's going to bring the theological and just how would I say it? She's going to preach why hospitality matters on planet Earth, especially right now. And so one of the coolest things about the retreat is the second night we left open. The day ends about 4 p.m. and we're saying, you're in Manhattan. Go find some beauty. I mean, the amount of restaurants within walking distance, or go to a Broadway show, or go to Central Park as the sun's going down and wander, or find goodness and beauty. And so anyways, so now I'm just rambling about the beauty of it. But as you can tell, I'm slightly excited about this gathering.
There are so few spaces specifically for pastors to just be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's exactly right. You come, you don't have to be responsible for anything. You don't have to represent anything. You don't have to field someone's anger about something and then field someone else's anger about the exact opposite thing.
Yeah, right.
We want to be for you what you're always for us. And so I hope there's going to be some killer content. Stephanie Spellers wrote a book called The Church Cracked Open, and she's going to share some from that. So I don't think this is certainly not a content-free zone, but it is, like I said, it's not a conference where we're going to fill your brain with a bunch of ideas. It's going to be full of practices, of quiet, of beauty, of worship together at the intersections. I mean, we're at an Episcopalian seminary, but I'm going to bring some very non-Episcopalian things to our worship. And then we're also going to bring in some streams that Ignatian spirituality. The Jesuits, for me, are one of the most compelling pathways to walking the way of Jesus. So we're going to mush it all up together, and we're going to see what the Spirit does with all this holy space.
I mean, I've seen the space from following you on social media, and that's a space I want to be in for that sort of thing.
Absolutely. I will go down on the regular. I live on campus, so I have about a 24-second walk. And a lot of times the chapel is empty and open. And there's a little piano in the corner. And I mean, there is something that happens in those holy spaces that, of course, God is everywhere. God isn't hiding in that chapel. But there's something that it does to us that helps us open up to the God who's everywhere.
I mean, look, like I get like the economics often dictate like what our worship spaces look like.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are coming from like, thrown up metal buildings or whatever under fluorescent lights. Right. And I yearn for spaces that are, in American terms, ancient, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, what's funny is these spaces really matter. And one of the most profound seasons of a worshiping community I've ever been a part of was my years with Rob at Mars Hill. And that was, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been there, but imagine a JCPenney's that you have taken everything out of, set up chairs in the round, and it's only like parking lot lights. Like when we'd turn on the lights in we called it the shed, it was just like chung chung. And yet it was one of the most transformative seasons with a worship community I've ever had. So while the space matters, Thank God it's not the only thing that matters.
Yeah. My church met in a elementary school gym for a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've had those transcendent experiences underneath a basketball goal before.
That's right. That's right. Hey, you should come.
Man,
We've been talking about this
I would love
beforehand.
that. So get into the
Yeah.
details. Tell me about like when and all the stuff that we might need to know.
Well, yeah, the website is pastorspriestsandguides.com. Pastorspriestsandguides.com. So all the details are there. But it's May 23rd, 24th, 25th. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, lunch on Monday to lunch on Wednesday. And it's really cheap because of general generosity. We've kept it to $199, and
Wow.
right now we're doing early bird for $150.
Wow.
So we don't want money to be an issue, and we realize you'll have to find housing and place to stay. There are some cheap options close by, and there are some expensive options close by. So, but we didn't want money to get in the way, and we even have scholarships. So please reach out if that's an issue. But yeah, the whole idea is show up on Monday morning, and then by early afternoon we'll be rolling. Excuse me. The whole first night is going to be almost like creating the container of this gathering. And we'll be together. We're going to worship together in some different ways. We'll do some practices. And then Stephanie is going to share her vision from the church cracked open. In many ways, she's just saying, hey, the church is cracked open. What are you going to do? There's no going back. But how are we going to go forward? What are we going to do? And so it's a really... I'm super fired up. I think by the time that first night finishes, we're going to be really cooking. And then Tuesday morning from 9 to noon, it's probably the part I'm looking most forward to, is a guided spiritual retreat. 3 hours where you will be led through a morning of spiritual practices, of silence, of reflection, and that's not about your church at home. That is about your soul as a daughter or son of your Creator. So we'll do that, and then we'll go into 2 hours of open space on the campus or even in the neighborhood of Chelsea. Space to journal, space to reflect, space to just breathe and exhale. From the space, we'll come back, and then we'll have, for that day, a final Eucharist service in the chapel. And again, it'll be ecumenical, so probably experimental in a way we've never done and probably wouldn't be allowed to in that chapel had it not been this event. But we'll come back, we'll gather around the table, we'll have that experience. And then, like I said, like by 4:30, you are free in Manhattan. So I'm hoping people, schedule, book tables at amazing restaurants and go to a Broadway show and just enjoy the beauty of the city. And then the last morning, 9 to noon, 9 to 1, will be all rolling up our sleeves practical. How do we actually do this? Not just for ourselves, yes, for ourselves, but how do we bring these rhythms back to our community? How do we reimagine what a Sunday can be and should be, and how do we have the tools to do that? So,
well, I would love to come to that. I'll have to talk to Kate about our logistics there, but
of course,
that would be awesome.
Yeah,
I was thinking I've been to New York City a handful of times, but basically always in the winter. So
yes,
late May would be just, excellent.
You don't want to come in February.
No.
You probably don't want to come in August. It gets pretty swampy. Although I'm speaking to a Texan, so you're like, that's child's play. But I'm telling you, spring in Manhattan it's pretty magical. So now I'm just trying to get you to come. But It's true. Spring in Manhattan is something special.
Wow. Well, man, that's so cool. $199 for a retreat, like that is just like unheard of. That's bare bones. So that's so super cool.
And again, it's because this is something that General is hosting, and throwing the doors open. And so they've made this possible. Oh, this would easily be 400, 500, 600, if we had to pay for all those costs. So really grateful for their generosity.
That's awesome. I think last time I was in NYC, we stayed in the YMCA in Brooklyn. So like they're cheap places,
wow. Yep, there are places. Yep. There's the full range of prices, and you usually get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But you're in Manhattan. Listen, we live in an 825 square foot apartment. My family of 4.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I can't believe it, and we love it because we're in the city. And so anyways, just changes how you think about size and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe the last thing I would say is please reach out if you have questions. Reach out to me. You can find me on any of the social media, any of those streams. We actually started a Pastors, Priests, and Guides Instagram page. And so that's a great place. I'm just trying to share the heart of it and introduce the different aspects. But I just had someone reach out and say, hey, I want to come, but I'm worried it's not for me. Who's this for? And so we just had this wonderful conversation about, is it for kind of former evangelicals looking for liturgy? Or is it about more mainline traditional churches looking to breathe new life? And I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And more. And so, but my point is, please reach out if you have questions, if you're looking for a scholarship, if we can help in any way. We're just trying to make a safe place to take care of the people who are always taking care of all the rest of us. So
I appreciate that, because I think that some, especially those who, if you're a pastor and you're like, your life is in the denominational world, and it's out of your comfort zone to go to this an Episcopal seminary or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But I know, Aaron, that you have a real sensitivity to that, and that I feel like we at least should be on the same page as far as our spiritual development goes as Christians. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, I was doing. Do you know Ronald Rolheiser?
Yeah, I know of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Catholic priest, president of a seminary, just brilliant. And we were having a conversation about something that he had written. And at the end, he said, listen, we do things really differently. We're all on the same team. Come on. And I was like, yeah. Well, if we were in the same room, I would have hugged him. He probably would have hated that. But we're part of the same movement. The movement of Jesus for the sake of the world. And so we don't have to pretend we're all the same. I mean, there's going to be a lot of differences, and that's beautiful. But we're on the same team.
And so part of what I hear you saying is even you may not be on a church staff, but this might still be for you.
Yes. I think we're all, we're not carding people as they come in, but it's particularly for people who are serving a community.
Yeah.
So, the focus will be pastors, priests, worship leaders, spiritual directors, but there's going to be a lot of different people who are actively trying to pour themselves out for their community that need some space to be poured back into.
I just feel like there are probably people who are listening who, for them, it would be a great act of love to go to their pastor and say, hey, I think you should consider this.
Yes.
A great act of care and a great act of love toward the people who are shepherding them.
Because I guarantee they would love to do something like this, but feel like, man, my church would.
Yeah.
They'd say, why are you leaving us? What, and to have someone in the community say, hey, we love you enough for you to be gone those 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean that. Oh man. I love that.
And maybe even going to the person or the team that's in charge of the budget at your church and saying, I think we should send better. I think we should send our pastors.
That's
here.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's an act of love.
Aaron, thank you so much, man. I've just learned so much through you and from you, and I'm excited to see what comes of this gathering.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, we'd love for you to join us. But if not, please pray for us. Yeah. Please pray for these priests and worship leaders and pastors, and not just at the retreat, but also at the retreat.
Yeah.
That God would do what only God can do.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for joining me for another episode of Seminary Dropout. Remember, you can find all the show notes for this show and all shows at shaneblackshear.com. Oh, and hey, have you ever thought about starting your very own podcast? I bet you have. And I think you should do it. In fact, I've created a course just for you to teach you everything that I've learned over the last couple of years producing Seminary Dropout. So if you're interested in podcasting and want to learn how, go check out my course. You can go there by typing in podcastingforeveryone.org. And you can get a special discount by typing in the discount code Seminary Dropout, all one word. That'll give you 25% off. So go check it out. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay. Thanks to those that left ratings and reviews on iTunes this week. Remember, that keeps the show front and center. Also, remember, you can find me on Twitter at beardonabike. That's at beardonabike. Also, I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/ShaneBlackshear123. And remember that Seminary Dropout is listener supported. You can visit supportseminarydropout.com and press Become a Patron. Remember, this music you're listening to right now is by D.L. Rossi. You can find him online on iTunes and at dlrossi.com. All right, thanks again for joining me for another episode of Seminary Dropout. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Love you. Take care.